Hello once again, folks, to yet another art video. This week, we're starting a new series that I like to call I Ruined It, where I take some beloved childhood things and distort them in one way or another. This week, we're going to be starting everything off with one of my favorite Pokemon, Mareep. Let's see how it goes. All right, so, yeah, we're just going to get started by doing our best to quickly draw Mareep. um, so, reality is for this series, I really want to do something a little bit different, and with that, it means it's going to take a little bit longer for the drawings themselves. So, where like in the mural, I was cranking them out about half an hour. This one specifically took me a little bit closer to hour and a half to get to everywhere, but I don't feel like making you guys sit through all that. So we get to just turn on some video filters and get speed drawing going. Now, per usual, with everything else that I end up drawing, I tend to go over it and do these blue lines. I went with more of periwinkle this time. Not for any specific reason, just it happened to be the color that I ended up choosing on the slider. But here, you see we're getting Mareep all drawn, kind of looking up to the heavens while sat down. Mouth agape. Fear looming in his cold black eye. But then we go through and we get these little lumps going for the fluffy, woolly sheepiness. Don't worry, guys. I see these things that look not so great too. I end up going through and I fix them. Don't worry. Like right here, I think I do a little too much on certain things with the arms eventually. Same for the legs. I couldn't. It was the same issue that I was having for some of the stuff in the mural video. I was just having some issues with the proportions of things and how I wanted the posing to be. Like right here, you can tell that's not a circle. That's oblong. But we're going through, we're cleaning up any bad lines that we had. I originally wanted to just kind of go through and get as much of the black in as possible. Right there, you see I force that perspective a little bit better by having the other arm peeking out over the side. Now here we are going through and we're just going to quickly give him some color. I believe I started off with, yeah, the darker portions. So like the ears and the tail, how they have that kind of slate color almost. Go through there, and then we're gonna get a quick flash to our reference for just a moment so that we can go through and remember that we forgot to draw the lines on the tail. Oh. Oh, whoops. It happens, though. From time to time, it happens. You can have something you think is perfectly set in your memory forever, and it's always just like the littlest details that you don't remember. In this case, it's tail stripes. Oh. Oh, but speaking of tail stripes, we got those all cleared up and painted in. So now we're going to go and get the orb on his tail done and move our way onto the flesh. Now, Mareep, I really like that contrast of that blue on the yellow wool, like against the yellow wool with the yellow accents for the stripes. It's very, I don't want to word this, it's very cold. And when taken in the context of its name being a portmanteau of Mary and sheep, or some electrical measurement in sheep, it's interesting to me. Not to mention the pretty obvious reference of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? The kind of cold, unfeeling nature of an automaton, and I think that tracks very well in the character design for Mary. Honestly, I wish I had more to it than that. Honestly, I've always thought that the little dude looked cute. I like the evolutionary lines. I like everything about it on a design function. I just think he's neat, neat little friendo. You know, someone you'd want to curl up with and hang out. I don't know, get some coffee with. But here we are just getting our Mareep position in the center. We're just gonna take a moment here and we're gonna appreciate what we got before I go through and I ruin it. Now, this is the section where I have to go and mention that for my quoted ruining, I was trying to go for like a kaiju type of feel or eldritch beast type of feel while still maintaining that kind of cartoony aspect of it. I didn't want to scare anyone away too terribly much going into this first episode of this new series, and I wanted it to still be relatively welcoming to anyone who might be new to the channel slash finding this for the first time. But the concept of this is heavily inspired by things like all the different animatronic or found footage things that we've been having come out lately, like Five Nights at Freddy's, Poppy's Playtime, pretty much anything that they cover on Game Theory, and then the Gorefield memes. Those have been pretty heavy on my mind lately yet as well. So right now we are getting the skyline all taken care of so that we have our backdrop for our big kaiju sheep guy. Yeah. And as you notice, I'll tend to reuse assets for things that are not as intrinsic to the total value of the piece. So like right here, these are all just the exact same base building with one of them cropped to look like it has some damage to the top of the building, and then I'm taking these segments and I'm scaling them to different sizes and placing them around. And yeah, we'll just continue on with that. We'll add some in our far background and our mid-ground, kind of just build up this large metropolitan section around. Then we're gonna go and add some to the foreground, and we're gonna get him repositioned so that we can try to maintain some of those details. Gonna add some blurring to kind of add to the depth of the drawing. Starting off with the mid-ground, then we're going to go into the background and try to do a slightly more heavy blur. More acting as a way to depict depth. Now, from here is where we actually start physically, quote, as I was quoted saying earlier, ruining our lovely little guy. I couldn't quite decide if I wanted to have a tongue poking out of this stomach mouth that I was adding, but ultimately I decided against it in favor of just a fleshy, gaping maw. Something kind of ominous and hiding in the warmth and comfort of its woolen body, peering into its deep, cold flesh. I'm just gonna apologize because I feel like you guys are gonna be watching this portion for just a little longer than you may have hoped for as I go through and I get all the coloring done. Now we're gonna go through, add some shading, just to, again, add some depth in there. Gonna go through and get our positions all figured out for what we're gonna do next. And then from here, we go and we add some tendrils. Again, harkening back to those Lovecraftian abominations. Going through and getting them all colored up now. Just gonna keep going and going and going, getting these deep black tentacles nice and filled in. Fun little thing to point out too is they use the same what's the word again? Palette as the buildings in the background for the most part, so that they don't look too intrusive against everything else. And I made sure to only put the 5 because I wanted to have kind of this depiction of like a demonic or satanistic look about it. You know, the whole 5-pointed star, the sheep turning into the beast, that kind of thing. I really wanted to lean into a more corrupted look. Now, don't mind this, that was just me playing around. I wanted to see if I could make it look like an older photo, and that didn't quite look how it turned out. So we're now going to go in through here, and we're going to add some more detail into the background in the form of this kind of warped smog kind of thing to the skyline. Kind of try to dot some stars around and have them hazy to show, again, the fact that I wanted it to be more metropolitan. And then this enlarged moon adding kind of its own brand to the ominousness. Ominous nature. Wow. Of it all. We're going through and getting some cleanup stuff taken care of here now, before going in and doing our shading. Now, if you're a fan of most of my other art projects that I do on this channel, you know that I'm a huge fan of masking, where we go through and we'll do just a layer of black over top of everything, where our primary shadows will be at. Go through and clean up what doesn't need to be shadowed proper, and then we'll kind of feather the edges with our blur tool. Then we go through and just change the opacity of the layer to bleed through our color underneath. But folks, with that, that's gonna do it for this episode of I Ruined It. And if you have a suggestion for the next video, please leave a comment down below. If you liked what you saw here today, feel free to hit that like button. And although YouTube is pretty good about notifying you when something comes out, doesn't hurt to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be sure. I have been, as always, Offline Spider. Thank you so very much for watching, and hope you had a good time.